Hello and warm welcome back to the Pitchside Podcast. I am your host, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes, of course, which are going to be going over the course of the Euros. And definitely follow us on social media site, PSP on Twitter, Pitchside Pod on Instagram. Thanks for helping reach the first K here on the channel with more than 1,000 subscribers ahead of the Euros, which is a good sign really, and we need to get the momentum going during the tournament, of course. Help us reach more viewers, of course, share around, listen on all the platforms and all of that, and help us reach even more audience. Thank you so much for helping us reach the first K, and to more of that, to 10K, to 100K, maybe to 1 million, maybe in the next couple of years. Anyway, let's get into the first Eurocast episodes. I couldn't find a really more creative name anyway, so let's start. We're starting, of course, by talking about the Group A in the Euros. Of course, we're going to be doing previews for the 6 groups ahead of the Euros, the last of which, Group F, will be on Friday, will be on the day of the first day of the Euros, of course, alongside with the preview for the opening match, of course, between Italy and Turkey. Speaking of both of those, they're, of course, both involved in the group, and involving, of course, Wales and Switzerland as well. Let's start talking about the head of the group, Turkey. Of course, surprisingly, it's not Italy, but still, it's not a big deal anyway. Hungary is the top seed of the group, in the group of death, with France, Portugal, and Germany, so there's that for you. Let's start from Turkey, obviously, and again, as the head of the group, they're really an underestimated side, it seems like, although they have probably one of the best squads really in Europe. If you look at it, it's a an emerging side, I would say, under Senol Gunes. Of course, Senol Gunes is the coach that led them to that podium finish in 2002 in the World Cup, led them to third place in South Korea, Japan World Cup in 2002. Since then, really, Turkey didn't really have a lot of great moments in Europe or in the World Cup in particular. They really didn't have a lot of glory moments to talk about since then. The 2002 World Cup finish seems to be, it is the most historical moment in Turkish football history, so there's that really. They don't have any achievements in club football that big in terms of Champions League or Europa League. So it looks like Turkey, it feels like Turkey is different this time, and we saw them in the Euro qualifiers, we saw them in the first couple of matches in World Cup qualifiers, we saw them in Nations League games. They feel like a different country this time, they feel like a different style. Fatih Terim, the previous coach, did a great job with this side, let's not forget, but Senol Gunes is definitely a different animal, a more attacking-minded coach who would love to go forward with this team, and this team really gives him the options to go forward. It has a solid spine in the middle. You have Okay Kuşlu, of course, in the middle, who's really impressive at West Brom as CDM. Then, of course, you have Hakan Çalhanoğlu being the maestro, having a great season in Milan, being your number 10, and he will still be a number 10 in Turkey for like 7-8 years forward. He's like 27, so he still could give a lot to Turkey. Then you have, of course, Cengiz Ünder, Enes Ünal, and then Burak Yilmaz, Irfan Kahveci, Mustafa Yazici. Up front, the options are really, really versatile for Turkey, which really gives the impression that this side might be a really good side to really pull something out in this group, to really put Italy to test if the other two teams in this group do not do so, because all people look at Italy as the best team of the group. I would say maybe Turkey has just a good case to be in also a good team in the same level of Italy. Surely the top spot is going to be fall between those two, I would say, in my opinion. Maybe to a lesser degree Switzerland. I don't know how things are going to go, particularly with this new system of the group being each match in a place of sorts. But Italy have an advantage really of playing the first match in the Olympico. So Turkey probably will have all the pressure on them to deliver because of the travel to Italy, the crowd being there, albeit in a limited capacity. So they really look like a good side. Again, they have a great squad. Also, they have a good defense at the back. They have obviously the two Premier League centre halves in Ozan Kabak and Senol Gunes. You expect those to be the starting lineup. Definitely expect them to be the pairing at centre half. Despite Ozan Kabak, more or less having only a handful of really good performances with Liverpool, realistically speaking, while Senol Gunes mostly had a really good season with Leicester City in terms of centre-half positioning, but they will be the pairing at centre-half, that's for sure. You have Ukay Kushlu in the middle, again, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Irfan Kahveci, Mustafa Ezigi, Burak Yilmaz, who discovered himself really with Lille again in a campaign that won them Ligue 1 in front, so it will be quite a good lineup, a good subtle squad that really understands each other, and we saw them in preparatory games, we saw them in the Nations League, we saw them in the World Cup qualifiers in the first couple of fixtures there. It really is a good squad that has a lot of chances of really getting somewhere in this tournament. I really think they will maybe the dark horse of the tournament. If Italy can be considered favourites, I think Turkey could be the dark horse of this tournament. Speaking of dark horses and favourites, let's get to Italy now. And they are in a weird position when it comes to favouritism. Some put them as, clear-cut favourites, 4th, maybe 5th behind some teams that we all know the usual suspects in this tournament, or they put them as, the dark horses. But I think the undisputed fact here is that Italy improved a lot in the last couple of years, certainly changed their style under Roberto Mancini, became more attacking-minded. And that is not to say that, that's not to say they didn't have great attacking players in their history, but it's like the whole style of Italy as we know it, playing a well-defensive, solid system, and then bouncing on the counters. I think it's changed a lot under Roberto Mancini. Antonio Conte, who was before him at the helm, and Bonaventura, who was before him at the helm, really, looked like more traditional Italian, coaches. Antonio Conte obviously is, with all the clubs that he coached until now. Then you have Roberto Mancini, who's really made, I think, a big difference. The generation that is going on at the moment, that is emerging in Italy as well, is a really, promising one with so much talent in it. You have, Spinazzola at the back, you have Giovanni De Lorenzo, you have Alexandro Bastoni in the centre half, Gianluigi Donnarumma in the goalkeeping position, although we keep forgetting how young he is just because he played a lot for AC Milan. And, obviously he's about to leave. He played around 250-something games for AC Milan already, and that is considering he's only 22. He debuted like a 16-year-old back in 5 years ago, whatever. We forget that. But he's still young. He still could give the national team, 10, 12, 13, 15 years of his career. Gianluigi Buffon basically has been the goalkeeper in Italy since, 2000... maybe 2000 until 2016 or whatever. So it is a really emerging side as well in Italy. They have the talent in the middle, they have the likes of Barella. Then up front they have the likes of Chiesa and Moise Kean. And of course the good thing about Mancini is the involvement of some of the lower tiers sides in Italy. You have the likes of, for example, Giacomo Raspadori coming in from Benevento, and he deserved really the goal to the national team. I thought he had a really, really good season. Then you have, of course, the involvement of the likes of Beraghi from Sassuolo, which is a really, really good involvement for him. Then you have Locatelli from the same side as well, albeit Locatelli is a more experienced side because he was in Milan on loan before, so he's a more experienced man in that position. And then, of course, you have your experienced players. You have your Insignes, you have your Immobiles, you have your Jorginhos, you have your Verrattis. Despite being injured, of course, he's not going to be available. And you have your Bonucci's, Chiellinis as well. So you have your usual suspects in there. And, the 4-3-3 seems like the stable system that Mancini is going to be using in the Euros. The starting lineup seems to be clear. At the moment, it really looks like it will be, for the most part, Locatelli, Barella, and Jorginho in the middle, while it will be probably Chiesa, Insigne, and Immobile up front for the most part. Keane might be a substitute, Berardi might be a substitute, Raspadori would be a substitute in there. You have Lorenzo Pellegrini as well, and you have at the back, You have at the back, the likes of Di Lorenzo, you have the likes of Spinazzola. So it definitely is a pretty versatile squad you have back there for Italy, and certainly a squad that is more than capable of really reaching far into the Euros and really achieving something. Again, the question is how people would perceive this, because after the failures that Italy had for the last 10 years, really, failing to qualify past the group stages in 2 World Cups, missing a World Cup outright in 2018, and of course, measures of success, relative success in the Euros, really, 2012 final and the 2016 quarterfinal. So you really think this competition and this tournament should be either the proving point for Mancini, because he's really been going on a good streak with Italy without losing, going on a good streak of wins as well, a streak of great performances, impressing people, impressing, pundits and all of that. And then you have this tournament, which is a different animal altogether. And again, with Italy playing their matches in the Olimpico, it will be advantage for them, so I don't think they will have excuses of not qualifying past the group stage of the tournament. So we'll see. Assuming they would do that, we will see what they can do outside of the group stages, what they will do in the round of 16, what will happen in the knockout rounds if they qualify, of course. But I'm assuming, again, they have enough good players and enough good coaching tacticians on Mancini on the bench. He's really basic but effective coach. He's not a genius. He doesn't really create systems and try to play players in wing back positions they're not accustomed with. He tries the basics. He tries the system that he doesn't want to, change a lot, and he doesn't want to tinker a lot, and that really worked for him so far. Italy have been, basic but effective. It's the same for them as it is for their coach. They've been really doing well. They've been really solid at the back. Really, you would say even more solid than under Antonio Conte or Bonaventura before him, which is a weird statement, but I think backed up by statistics if you look it up. Then you have, of course, your attacking promise, your possession-based football now, which is an added bonus to this Italian side. They could really be not just the dark horses, but I think with the other teams not being 100% great, I mean, aside from France, really, who's the team that you could say that is properly great in this tournament? England, yeah, we could really debate that. Germany, still feeling like the 2018 effects are really taken in, and with Love still in, it's certainly still the case. You think of Portugal, defensive, and maybe the kinks and problems will appear in the tournament itself. So Italy, on their day, I think they're good as anyone, and they could do as good as anyone could do in that tournament. Then we go down the card in that group and we move in to Wales, and I mean, a weird case. Really, Wales is a weird case at the moment. We can really not talk about them without mentioning their biggest name in Gareth Bale and all the controversies surrounding the guy. I mean, let's be real. Gareth Bale is a guy who had some ups and downs in his career. Good periods, bad periods. He had some good times at Real Madrid, bad times at Real Madrid, mostly bad times, injuries, golf, the crowd booing him and all of that. But, for him, it's Wales, golf, Madrid. That is what it is. It's in that order, as he put it, or as he certainly adopted the motto of Wales, golf, Madrid in that order, since it was thrown at him by some journalists. Again, Wales being the actual dark horses of 2016, reaching all the way to the semi-final, being eliminated by eventual champions Portugal, eliminating Italy in the process of doing that as well. So that is quite the task. Eliminating Belgium in doing so, being the same group as Italy. So it's definitely a really weird situation Wales find themselves into at the moment. Yes, the generation have changed, and certainly the big names of those generation have changed as well. Gareth Bale is not the Gareth Bale of 2016, which is arguably the best version of Gareth Bale at all. It was a really motivated version. I mean, he's still motivated whenever he plays for his national team. Let's be fair. He really feels much more comfortable to play for his national team than for any club now. Tottenham, no. Real Madrid as well. The rumours are really still circling that he wants to retire after the Euros and play golf. I mean, if that is true, that is going to be like the most anticlimactic retirement ever, albeit he would retire with a lot of honours, Let's not forget, the guy won 4 Champions League and scored in the final on 2 occasions of those, by the way. Let's not forget. So, the guy, I mean, has won a lot of trophies with Real Madrid, has done some incredible things with Wales, again, being the leader in that run in 2016. Arguably being one of the best players of that tournament altogether, really. If you look at it from another point of view, then you have, you know, the likes of Aaron Ramsey as well has been good. You had, you know, Joe Allen is getting old, and, you know, you have a new emerging, you know, generation of talent in Wales that is getting through the system. You know, the likes of, you know, Ben Woodburn. Then you have the likes of, you know, Daniel James still there, Harry Wilson emerging. You have this new generation of talent trying to mix up with the experienced guys the likes of Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey. And again, what made Wales run great in 2016, it was that both those players were at their very best. So you're talking the best version of Ramsey and you're talking the best version of Gareth Bale. They're not like that anymore. I think Wales will struggle really getting out of this group, if any. I mean, the only saving grace in the Bale, you know, out of jail Bale card will be the 3rd placed finish. And I don't think they could get there, because I really think they're below the 3 teams in the tournament in terms of level in the group. They're below them. I mean, it's a coin toss between them and Switzerland, and I think I have a couple of arguments why Switzerland could be better than them and better equipped than them to be a better placed finish than them in the group. So I really don't look at Wales and say they will do it again. It's possible, it could happen, but it will require some serious miracles in the group itself, with the new system of the tournament going up and down and really moving between the stadiums and travelling for the matches. It will require a lot of things to go in Wales' way and to really align themselves in Wales' way in order for them to get out of the group. Again, I don't really see them doing much. We will see how things are going to be panning out for them. And could we see a re-emergence of Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey? Could we see them really taking over and lead that generation into a good Euros? We don't know, really. And then, of course, we finish with Switzerland, and you know what? I really don't have a lot to say about Switzerland. I cannot find word to say a lot about Switzerland. The squad is pretty much the same. There's not so much changed in the last couple of years, at least since the last time the Euros were played. You know, not a lot changed in Switzerland. Not a lot changed since the last time they played the major tournament, which is the World Cup in 2018. I really don't consider the Nations League a major tournament just yet. Liechtensteiner just retired, so they had to change their system into a 3-5-2, and they've been going about that ever since, or a 3-4-3, if you're more technical and more savvy about it. You know, the squad didn't change again. Your usual suspects are there. You have your Granit Xhakas, you have your Dennis Zacharias, you have your Berlin Ballers, your Sheridan Shakiris, you have your Ricardo Rodriguez as well, Fabian Schär, Jan Sommer. Not a lot has changed, which plays on 2 levels really for Switzerland. It's either a good sign that, you know, the guys are experienced and know what to do, and they could take advantage of situations that maybe young players wouldn't, and B, hinder them a lot and hinder their developments in catching up with other clubs, because the same players are getting older and older, and they're not up to the task of what is happening in the world of football at the moment. I really like to look at it in the first category of knowing what there is and knowing what they have to do in order to win, to get a good tournament, to really do something great in this tournament. But again, all the worries that Switzerland could be, you know, could throw the spanner in their works for a lot. I mean, they're really, if we're gonna categorize the group, I would say Turkey, Italy, top of the table, or like, you know, proper favourites to win the group. I would say, you know, Switzerland could be in behind them, dark horse to win the group, guaranteed second place at the very worst, and of course, then you have Wales, potential 3rd finish, and bottom of the group, like outsiders completely to do anything. So again, Switzerland, just I think like Wales, just I think I would say that Italy, they are a much more basic team with Vladimir Petkovic. They really still, you know, hold on to their principles. Since they changed that 3 in the back, 3-4-3, they haven't been able to change it. They've been using it ever since. It won them games, it got them results really in the qualifiers for the Euros, it qualifies at the World Cup as well. But you look at it from a point of view where you say, okay, They want to go one better than the round of 16, and those kind of same players maybe will hinder them, maybe will not be helping hand when it comes to qualifying through the group stages. But again, we'll see what things will how things will pan out for Switzerland. Well, it's really interesting to look at that group from a point of view of hindsight. Obviously, after the first game, we'll have like the first impression of this group, and our first round of matches in that group, we'll have a first impression of how things could look in that group. Maybe we'll get some shocking results that we don't expect. Nobody knows really what could happen in the future. We'll finish off with my predictions for that group, of course. I would go on a limb and say it is Turkey in first place. I would say Italy second, not so much between them really. It might go up and down between those two, but I think Turkey would come first just about ahead of Italy because it would have more advantage, I think, over Wales and Switzerland. Italy would come second, Switzerland come third, depending on the situation, could be a fourth. One of the four sides that are finished thirds are one of the four best, third places in the tournament, or really just not qualifying and finishing third. And Wales, in my opinion, they don't have enough in them to really do anything. So I would say they would go as bottom of the group and go out as fourth. That's it for this episode, the first of the Eurocast. It will be, obviously, the first of many over the tournament. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this podcast. Tell me what you think about my predictions of the group. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, enable notifications. Always on to receive all the updates from these episodes. And we're going to do more content, hopefully, for the rest of the Euros. And definitely, check out our social media, Pitch iPod on Instagram, Start PSP on Twitter, listen on Spotify, Google Podcast, or any other platform, and of course, help us always to improve our subscriptions and our subscribers number anyway. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and until tomorrow's episode, goodbye.